Welcome to Behind the Badge with your special guest, Lieutenant Williams, your news source for all things police in the city of Fond du Lac.
Welcome back into Fond du Lac today on News Talk 1450 and 100.7 KFIZ. Now joining us is Lieutenant Williams and Officer Clapper. 3 straight weeks.
Coming in hot.
It's going to be Officer Clapper's Behind the Badge.
Behind the Badge. That's what you're listening to right now on your radio dial. We come in today. We've seen some better weather, at least earlier this week and last weekend, but we're looking forward to that better weather. We're hoping all that snow is behind us, and with the nicer weather, it means more time outside.
Yeah, and one thing that I'm an avid bicyclist, makes me happy with the warm weather is I can get out on the roads and ride again. We thought, so what better time to start talking about bicycle safety? And we kind of dug through the old statute books because we had to refresh ourselves on it. We were kind of learning stuff as we went here, but we thought we should share some of the things that are out there for opportunities as far as how you can help police officers in investigating if your bike gets stolen, and some of the more common bike laws or violations that we see.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those violations or laws, where you're supposed to be riding your bike, I guess, to start with.
Well, I learned early on. We actually took a police officer bike safety school where we have to be certified to ride. We do have some bicycles in our police force, and they had a saying, and I don't want to screw it up, but it's bicyclists fare best when they act and are treated as drivers of motor vehicle. So if you have an adult-sized bike and you're an adult, then you should kind of drive on the roads as a car would, meaning stopping for stop signs and stopping for stoplights and staying in the right-hand lane, and just act like you're driving a motor vehicle, but you're on a bicycle. It's the only difference.
So the way you're supposed to be driving would be on the road and you go the same direction as the traffic, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so I thought I've heard in the past that you're supposed to be on the opposite side, so you see oncoming traffic coming towards you, but it's actually the other way around where cars would be almost coming up from behind on you.
Yep, and that's exactly. So walkers, you want to be seen going against traffic,
Okay.
But biking, you want to go with traffic. I think the difference is just the speed going on there, and hopefully that you have something. You're very visual, so that you're not blending into your surroundings. You should be thinking about that. There's a lot of like lights and stuff like there that are out there on the market now that if you just put a couple of those on your bike, they're rechargeable, they're nice. It's a way so you can be visible.
Now, you probably aren't legally supposed to have those lights at night, or are you supposed to have lights whenever you're bike riding in the evening?
You have to have lights on your bike at night.
Okay.
Have something. A lot of people just will have reflectors, but that's not substantial enough. You have to have a light going forward on your bike, as well as something to highlight the rear. Usually a red light on the back and a white or amber light to the front.
Look at this. We're 2 minutes in and we're learning so much of stuff that we didn't already know.
So here's one thing I learned today too. Just so I get this out, and we'll let Clapper take some of the more heavy stuff. But I was wondering if we still register bikes, because we don't do it at the police department. So I actually called down to the clerk of courts, which is at the city county building, and asked if we still do that, and we do. And what that means is if you get your bike registered, it's a $10 and it goes to the life of the bike fee, and you get a registration number and you can put that on your bicycle. And why that's nice is we do get a lot of bike thefts. And most of our bike thefts, it's just someone joyriding. Like they're just going to ride the bike for a while and then they're going to dump it somewhere. Mm-hmm. That number helps us locate the owner of that bike so much easier, because we can just flip the bike over, find that number, we run it through our dispatch, and we can trace it right back to you. So like we could just bring it back to you. Otherwise, it's a lot harder to find that. We'd have to inventory the bicycle, and then someone would have to see, if the serial number matches up with our database. So the time that would take is a lot longer than just running the registration number and saying, yep, this is this person's bike. And if you do get a bicycle registration, let's say you get a new bike, it's only $3 to transfer that registration over to the new bike. So pretty inexpensive it's kind of like, almost like insurance in a way. Make sure your bike gets back to you.
And a one-time fee, right? Better than the insurance we have to pay monthly for our cars.
Yes, better than that.
As we kind of look at that, most of the bike thefts, do you guys see those on the college campuses, or are we just talking about all throughout the city?
I would say schools, obviously, there's a lot more bikes around, and bike lock, or not bike locks. I can't think of the word I'm thinking of. Bike racks. A lot of them aren't locked up. So at schools, yes, we do see quite a bit of bike thefts, but also just at people's residences. People tend to trust, like, hey, this is my house. I can put this out on my front porch or alongside of my house. And unfortunately, that's not always the case. Somebody sees the bike sitting there unsecured and they think it's just theirs to take for a spin. So it doesn't really pertain particularly to any specific area, but it's definitely all over, and we do handle a lot of bike thefts, especially this time of the year and in summer.
And I think people still kind of equate Fond du Lac as being a smaller town, and it is. I mean, based like other town sizes, but like they get that security that comes with a small town. They don't feel like they have to lock up their bike, but I will tell you, you do have to lock up your bike. It will go missing. We had some issues at the pool during the summer with bikes going missing, and I think they kind of changed their procedures on how they did that, so that wouldn't happen as often as having like an attendant for the bikes. So there's things, but just having that lock, they're very inexpensive, and a thief is not going to usually put in the extra time. If you have an expensive bike, they might, but most of the bikes are about the same price. Just having it not being easy, just take this and go.
And we kind of mentioned it's just like insurance, right? Having the lock there, it's like a one-time kind of fee there, and then your bike is safe for the life of it, or the life of any time you need that lock.
Yes, you're onto this. We're running with the insurance metaphor, and it's working.
Exactly, it's working for everything. You're listening to Behind the Badge on News Talk 1450 and 100.7 KFIZ. So what more can you tell us about kind of bike safety, I guess?
So one law that we had to refresh myself on is riding on sidewalks. So I'm sure a majority of us have ridden on sidewalks, but the city ordinance says unless you have a bike that is 20 inches, has wheels that are 20 inches or less, so basically a BMX bike or a kid's bike, you're supposed to ride on the road. So and you cannot ride on the sidewalk, especially on Main Street. We see this, I think it's between Johnson Street and Western Ave. There's signs posted on the sidewalks to not ride on the sidewalks, just for the safety of everybody. You see people coming out of businesses, stuff like that. They don't want a biker gang per se going down the road and taking them out when they're carrying out their food order from a restaurant downtown, stuff like that. So that's a couple common ones that we just wanted to hit on. And then bike lights, we kind of talked about that. It's important, especially if you're riding at night and it's dark outside. And I saw this all the time working second shift patrol, is people would be riding their bikes to or from work or to or from friends' house, particularly kids, and they'd be wearing dark clothing and they didn't have reflectors, no lights, and it's so hard to see them. And once it gets later into the night, the greater chance of having impaired drivers comes along. And if it's hard for a normal person that's sober to be able to see them, imagine what it's like for somebody that's impaired. So that's important to have something that'll catch your attention and also help in aid of you not getting hit by a vehicle, essentially.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense that these rules are put in place for your own safety.
Absolutely. We're not looking to jam people up for not having a light on their bike, but it's made for their safety, and and officers do enforce bicycle laws at times as well. So it's just made to keep the public and the bicycling public safe.
So I know you guys were doing some research on this, kind of refreshing yourself on these rules. What is the ticket? Do you hand out tickets if someone doesn't have lights in the evening? What's the rules, kind of the repercussions?
There is a city ordinance that officers could issue a citation for if it is deemed necessary. I mean, we usually like to do a warning approach first. It's not that severe of a violation, but obviously it is a violation of city ordinance. So we would like to educate and help people understand why the rules are out there and why they're put in place. So
now, is there a rule to where you're supposed to wear a helmet while you're on your bike or anything like that?
It's a good question.
No, I don't think we have a specific rule, but obviously we would want you to do that. No, I don't think there's an actual it's a violation to not wear a helmet, but doesn't mean you shouldn't. And I ride bike a lot and I go pretty quick. And if I were to crash, something bad could definitely happen. And We had a bicyclist get hit by a car, just a child get hit by a car just last year, and it's things like that doing those small things. It's like insurance. You do those small things of getting a helmet on could save your life in the end. And if the worst thing happens, then you have a chance of surviving that ordeal. So, specifically, I'm looking through here and I don't see anything about a helmet, and I don't remember it. But in the summers, we have done it. I don't know if we'll do it this year again, but we have a helmet citation program. So, and that's citation spelled like cite.
Okay.
That means if an officer sees you riding with a helmet, you actually would get like a free like Sunday or something like that. Like it would be.
Is this just for kids, or can
I'm giving
a
it to
grown
teenagers.
27-year-old just kind of rolls by on a bike?
I think
With a helmet
we
on.
gear it towards children, but if we see you out there, we might make an exception.
All right,
I'll be sure to wear my helmet when I'm out biking.
We'll have to be on the lookout for that one.
And we'll
for
see
sure.
if that program is again. But that was a good program because it does help to lead that positive interaction between police and the citizens, and it also it kind of just promotes another good thing to do for safety reasons. So.
Now, you see it in the movies, maybe even in bigger cities, that there's some officers that will be riding bikes around. Is that common in Fond du Lac? Will we see officers on bikes currently?
Hopefully you will. We have plenty of bikes. We actually have a really good supply of police bikes. Unfortunately, with our staffing levels, it's been a little bit difficult to get those extra patrols out there. But as we build here, as we talk about in the show a lot, those numbers are going to get back up there, and it's something that officers are interested in doing. And it's amazing how much more you can see from bicycles, because people can know when cars are coming by and stuff like that, but you can sneak up on stuff. We used to operate them in downtown at bar time or whatever, and you could hear loud arguments and stuff behind buildings that you never would hear if you were in a squad car and thing like that. So, and kind of sneak up on stuff. I mean, you don't want to be sneaky, but sometimes it benefits you and you're trying to look for infractions.
If you're in the right spot at the right time, you're going to hear more on your bike than if you were in your car.
And you'll see them on Walleye Weekend. We always bring them out for that, and maybe a couple other festivals. But Walleye Weekend, it's a lot of ground to cover. We have these really nice e-bikes that if you see an officer on one of those, they're lucky because they got their first or whatever. And it doesn't take much for pedaling, and you can go really quick. In fact, right now, Strava is a biking app, but right now, our Captain Duvenek used one of those e-bikes, and he has the record for going up Golf Course Drive Hill. But he did it on an e-bike, so he kind of cheated, but he has the record. That's how fast they can go easy pedaling up that Golf Course Drive Hill. So
there we go. You're listening to Behind the Badge on News Talk 1450 and 100.7 KFIZ. Lieutenant Williams, Officer Clapper, before I let you guys get out of here, anything else you want to hit on?
We still have some of the plush canines available. Okay. Our listeners have been great stopping in. Last Friday, there's been, I think we sold like 10 right after the radio show aired.
Nice.
So we definitely still have some of those available. If you could come to the police department lobby. It's an actual replica sort of our canines. Has a realistic badge, realistic harness as well with their name on it, and they're $20 donation, and the donation helps fund the canine unit. So that's the only thing that I have.
Officer Clapper, he is killing it. Like, you just bring him in a couple times, and now he's ready to just remember that stuff, Lieutenant Williams.
He's selling dog. We're gonna have him sell other stuff too, I think.
Hey, if you want a part-time
Insurance.
gig, if you want to sell some radio spots, you want to work in radio at all,
Sure.
we might be able to hook you up on that.
We can figure it out.
No, we need him. So.
All right, that's Behind the Badge. Really appreciate you guys' time today. We'll be back next Friday. Coming up next, we will... Who knows what we'll talk about? We'll figure it out next week. You're listening to Behind the Badge on KFIZ.